What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day as always. This week we're going to continue working on our core support and getting it on here. But before we can bolt this down, we got a couple of things we have to tackle first. The first issue is the bolts for the body mounts. If you remember, there's very little room between the bottom of the intercooler and the core support. So there's not really room for that bolt head and a washer. It's the intercooler is going to be sitting on this instead of its rubber feet. It's rubber mounts. So we're going to have to come up with a solution to this problem. And then before we bolt it on there, we want to go ahead and get some of these accessories bolted up here, like the fan hub, and get a fan on here to help locate our radiator. And there's a bolt broken off in here. This is where the fan hub mounts. So we got to get that little dude out of there. And that's going to be a lot easier to do without a core support. So we're going to get that knocked out, come up with a solution to this, and then we can get our core support on here and go forward with our radiator. So that's the plan. We're going to get to work. All right, so you guys have a better look at what we're talking about. Here is the rubber mount, and you can see there's a gap there. It's hard to measure because that rubber is kind of deformed, but it looks like about 1/4 of an inch, and it is sitting on this bolt head. So when I move this bolt, the intercooler is moving. So if you take 1/4 inch out of the equation of that bolt head and that washer, you're left with very little.
Yeah.
We'll have to take some measurements and figure out what it can actually be, but it's going to have to be flat, basically. So we have an idea for a solution, and it kind of involves building the bolt. But we'll show you what we're thinking. We need to take 1/4 of an inch out of it, which is going to be tough. You know, we thought about just recessing the head down in here, you know, make that hole a little bit bigger and just weld the bolt head to this. This isn't particularly thick. It's not paper thin either, but we're worried you're just going to suck this thing down and eventually crack the weld out. But they have to have something in mind for this.
Yeah, it's bound to be something.
You know, there's just way too much difference there between sitting on this head and sitting on its mount like it's supposed to. And we did get an emailed copy of the instructions, by the way, kind of after the fact, but it doesn't address this at all. So we still aren't really clear on what Rob Bonney has intended for you to do with this bolt, but we're going to work it out ourselves. So what we're talking about doing for now is cut the head off of this bolt or start over again. We'll have to make sure the length is right and basically build a big round washer and weld it to this. And then, since it's going to be underneath the intercooler, you won't be able to hold it any kind of way, and you really wouldn't want it to be welded in there, I don't think. We're just going to cut a flat part on it, so then you're left with a little moon shape. We'll weld the moon on it so you're completing that circle, and that'll stop it from spinning when you tighten it. That's kind of what we're thinking. I may not be describing that very well, but you'll see, I guess, when we get there. All right, so we got a piece of 3/16 by 3 inch flat bar in here, and we went ahead and cut the heads off of our bolts and put a little bit of a bevel on there for welding later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by drilling a hole the size of this bolt here. Then we're going to switch over to one of these annular cutters, and that's going to cut the outside diameter of our washer. It's just going to make a pretty simple washer, 3/16 thick, and then we'll cut one side of it off to make the flat to, you know, act as a stop to keep it from rotating. There we go, nothing to it. Bolts fit right in there. So we'll take them over there to the belt sander and do our cleanup. Not too bad. Sure beats cutting them out with a plasma.
Yep, look good.
Now all we have to do is figure out how we're going to cut them. So thicker our cut width, obviously the more mismatch we'll have in the end without cutting an extra 2 of these, which I don't think it's really necessary to go to that length, but we do need to cut these. So. All right, well, we're going to try this out. It's the old Porta band on a table. Just have to try to keep it straight. So we're going to get a fine line on here and try to follow it. There we go, nothing to it. Worked pretty good. Not perfectly straight cuts, but they'll do.
Yeah, pretty good.
I guess now we'll go back to the belt sander and just get the burrs off of them. And then we should be ready to weld them on, I think. That'll do. All right, so we're gonna hold off on welding the stops in. It's like Bub said, if we need to, there is some slop in these holes. So if we need to shift the core support one way or the other to get all our body panels lined up and gaps right, we'd be locked in if we weld these half moons in here. You wouldn't be able to move it over. So we're just gonna leave it like this for now. We'll go ahead and put the front end back together, at least loosely. And then we can weld these in later. Core support's ready to go. We got our bolts made. So one thing left to do is try to get this little bolt out. Looks like it ain't gonna be easy. We've been soaking it, but it's pretty stuck.
Yep. Didn't get lucky this time.
It's probably bottomed out in that hole.
Probably.
Well, we give up. We decided it ain't coming out. If it does come out, the threads are not going to be usable anyway. So we've been reduced to drilling it oversized and retapping. So we're going to M10, which kind of sucks because it is pretty close to the top of the block, but at this point there's no alternatives left. So that's what we're gonna do. Got a little stubby drill here. Gonna try to hold it as straight and steady as I can. Get this thing retapped. How's that look?
Come up a hair. Yeah, right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
It's at the bottom already, is it? No. Peeling a thread out. You gotta be kidding me.
What, now one's fall out?
Mm-hmm.
Probably broke it loose with that tap.
Yeah. I think we did. I think we spun it in.
Oh my gosh.
There she is. It came out. What's left of it anyway. Most of it. Still some threads left in here. Just have to let the drill bit take care of that. One tapped M10 hole. Threads came out good. So that's good. That cast iron's not too hard to tap, but at least we got that sorted out. It's not ideal, but it'll work. But that's the fan on. We don't have a 10mm bolt to put in here, but since we're just mocking this stuff up, it's not really all that important anyway. So this will help us situate the shroud, which will also help us situate the radiator. That way we know it's in the right place, which side to side, you know, should be a given, but up and down is what we're worried about. That's why we didn't weld on the mounts on our core support. So now that that's on there, I guess we can move forward with that. I think those came out pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Real good.
And we can get those two mounts tightened down, slip our intercooler in there, see how it fits, and work on the radiator. Now it's time to find out if this whole idea was even a good one or not. say it worked. I wish it would have stayed perfect, but I guess that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Tighten down our hood stops. Now, I guess we need to stick our shroud on first, huh?
Yeah, I would think so.
That's a brand new Chinese genuine OEM Dodge fan shroud. Since the parts truck didn't have one. Caution fan. That must be the bottom.
It does stick up. Yeah. It actually looks like it might work out all right.
Well, we can hope. I'm hitting on my drain. Can you come my way any?
Yeah, you should be able to if you need to. Be bound up over there or something. Uh-oh. There went one of our rubbers.
Yeah, just broke off a rubber. You have to pick your side up so my side can go down. There we go. Kind of see down in there. Clutch is pretty tight. Fan blades have about an inch. So it looks like it's all going to fit in there like it's supposed to. Miraculously enough.
So much easier that time. All right, so we ran into a little bit of a clearance issue. You can see the squiggly white line here. We're gonna have to trim that out. So this Dodge fan shroud is hitting on the steering gear.
Yep.
So we're gonna do a little bit of whittling on it. Hopefully it will give us the clearance we need to get it where it needs to go.
Hopefully. Round one of trimming.
Yep. Well, maybe not.
So there's a look at how tight it is. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that radiator cap is it's getting squished into that insulation. But the hood is closing, so it's a little tighter than we'd like it to be, but it works. We have to tear that insulation out and see how much room there is between that cap and the hood. It looks like our mounts down here are basically exactly where they're designed to be. The fan has clearance all the way around it. It has quite a bit more room on top than the bottom, but can't go down anymore because that radiator fits the intercooler. So you can't go down really any more than what the factory had it. So maybe where it has to be right there. Put that back where it's supposed to be. It looks like we've got about 1/8 of an inch.
Dang.
Yeah, that's tight. Set it up a little bit. No, it's hitting. All right, so our goal here is to lower the radiator down 1/2 inch. The hood's closing, but it's closing right on top of the cap. So it's just, they're coming together at the same time. So that's really not good. It technically work, but we've got it sitting on 1, 2, 3 blocks here. You can see them, and they're standing up. So we're 3 inches off the frame to the bottom of the radiator, and it's kind of sitting on the lip on the side. It's not to the flat part. So just cut a couple of pieces of 1/2 inch flat bar here. We're going to roll the 1, 2, 3 blocks to the 2 inch side, which is across the width of it basically. Put a 1/2 inch flat bar on top. That would give us 2.5 instead of 3 inches. And then because the radiator is basically form fit to the intercooler, we're not going to be able to have it slid over like we want and go down. So we're going to have to center the radiator back up to get clearance in here, so we can go down our 1/2 inch and it's not going to be touching here. That means we'll have to slot these holes on this side so we can bring the shroud over off-centered from the radiator. And then we may have to get creative on the other side to mount the shroud. So that's kind of the plan for now. We're going to get all this stuff back out and see what we can make happen.
Just kind of give you all a quick look here. Just kind of see what we're going to have to take off of these to kind of get that radiator down to give us the clearance we need on the hood. Not ideal, obviously, having to take that much off of them, but I think it'll still be plenty stout enough to hold the radiator in place.
Yeah, I think since we're welding them, it's not going to be a problem. You know, it's going to be, this material here is, I don't know what it is, but it looks like it's at least 1/8, if not a little bit heavier, maybe 10 gauge. So it's pretty stout material, and once it's welded, it'll be stronger than if you're using these bolts. That should do it, hopefully.
There they are. A couple tacks on them. Should be where they need to go. Now we get it all welded up.
Now, we need to put it all back together so we can locate and drill the holes for the bushings to mount the upper radiator mounts. Here's the little bushings for the upper radiator mounts. They're just like the ones that we welded in for the hood stoppers on the intercooler. So now that we got a center found, we just used a drill bit that fit inside the rubber mounts, and we just hit it hard enough to put a center. Now we can drill it 3/4 for these things, get them welded in, and that'll take care of the radiator. Well, while our upper radiator mounts are cooling down, we're going to go ahead and start working on this AC condenser, and we got to do some modification to this brace out here, and then the hood latch, the safety latch, has to be modified as well. So we're gonna have to put the lower valance back on, put a little bit of this stuff back together on the front end to sort all this out. So we're going to go ahead and do that while we wait for it to cool. So there's the mark. It's about 1/4 inch above the tab on each side. So I'll whack the top of this thing off. Then this part will just bolt right back in. The new part, it's made to bolt on, I guess, but we're just going to weld it. Don't really see a good reason not to. It'll be like that. Go.
Yep. Got to bend now.
Hopefully we bent it the right way.
Hopefully.
All right, let's see if we bent this thing the right way or not. A couple of bolts out of the bucket. Need a little PB on that one. This. Yeah, I guess it'll go on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Marked where the ends of where the condenser come down. There's like tubes on the end. and they line up with these marks here. So he's got rubber bumpers he wants you to put in there. I mean, you know, this piece is set back from this piece. You know, the rubber bumper's only so thick, so I think it's going to be okay on this side. Drill that hole and put the bumper. On this side, we're getting into where the core support's doubled up. So you got one that's above this, and this is above that. So by the time you put a rubber here, you're still hitting metal to metal. So we're just going to take the cutoff wheel and clip this corner back because the bottom of the condenser is way up here. So we're going to cut this off and drill these 2 holes, put the rubbers in, and then it should take care of that. Now we can put our condenser back in again.
That's a long ways from going behind that.
That's revolting. So the only thing left for this is to sort out this safety latch. But this hood isn't staying on the truck anyway. But what he says to do is you unbolt it, you have to turn it 180 degrees so the hook will be facing forward. And you have to re-drill these bolt holes on this side. And then you'd have to put nuts in there because these have nuts welded to the inside of the hood. So you have to re-drill them, use nuts to turn it around so it clears the condenser. But there's no point in drilling holes in this hood since we're not going to use it. We need to find another hood and then we can make that modification to it. But I think that sorts everything out here. We'll still have to do something for the turn signals. We want to use the Silverado grill with the turn signals in the grill. So we got an idea of how to deal with this because the factory turn signals don't fit with the intercooler, but we'll have to tackle that at some point. So the only thing left for us to do is to put our fan shroud back in and our radiator and make the adjustments on those holes that we need to make to get the shroud lined up with the fan and mounted to our radiator. And I think that'll be a wrap for this. think we got it the way we're gonna leave it. The fan is just a little off-centered in the shroud, and we're guessing it's because we're using the first gen fan hub. But we decided it's not worth what we'd have to do to the shroud to get it perfectly centered, so we're gonna just run it. Unfortunately, we don't have the bolts for the top of the radiator, and we're also missing one of the bushings. So we can't get those bolts in, but this is all squared away.
And check the clearance.
The condenser's all good. Yeah. I think the last thing that we need to do is check the clearance on the radiator cap. See where we landed. All right, let's see where we wound up at. Whoop, there goes the light. Oh yeah, I can stick my finger in there. So, we got our 1/2 inch, just like we planned. So I think we're good. Well, it's quite a bit of work to get our clearance, but we got it. I think we're all good here.
Yeah, this is taking way longer than it should have, that's for dang sure.
Yep.
What we figured would be 2 days worth of work turned into, well, 4. So, yeah, problems at every turn. Of course, I mean, what can you expect when you go to modifying an old truck, trying to put stuff in there that don't belong? It's just all part of it.
Yep.
But that's all gonna have to wait for next time. If y'all enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel and then go in the comments and type subscribe. Don't forget about that. That way you're entered into our monthly giveaways. This month we're giving away a Milwaukee USB stick light. There's a link in the description if you want to check that out. Pretty cool little LED light. But that's going to do it for this one. We appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.